This week, we discuss substitute teachers, parody Twitter accounts, Freeman's Mind, sports rivalries, and Native American history. Also, apparently Goofy has an OnlyFans account. So, gather around the internet campfire, everyone, because it's episode 10 of Let's Regroup. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Let's Regroup, the podcast where we get off topic, but we'll get there eventually. I'm your host, Casey, and with me I have two guests. First off is Jess.
I'm on every other episode.
It's true. And then our other guest is, first time since episode 2, we're now on episode 10, is Noah.
Hi. I'm busy.
That's
Welcome
okay.
to the podcast.
I was very not busy up until last week. I had no jobs and now have 2 jobs again. So, like...
Congrats.
Cracking right into gear. My sleep schedule has caused me to go from waking up whenever I feel like it to waking up at the same time every day, and I am constantly tired.
Yeah, I'm going to have to be like that next week, and I'm not going to say I'm dreading it, because I'm not, but it's just going to be rough for a couple days.
Yeah, that period of adjustment is always a thing to get used to.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I had to wake up at like 8 a.m., which is not even early, technically, for a professional development I was doing, and I was just like, ugh, I'm gonna die. Meanwhile, I'd been waking up daily at 6:45
Oh, jeez.
for going to school, and I've been like, yeah, this is fine.
Funny how it works like that. Today was my first day back at school. So
How'd it go?
that's exciting.
Huh?
I mean, here's the thing, right? So, like, I haven't been in a school since March, and education is my livelihood. So the fact that I've been there and interacting with kids again and interacting with teachers just, like, it changes my entire outlook on life. Like, life is worth living again.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because no joke.
Oh, I can do what I went to school for. Oh.
Suddenly got all this presence in your life.
I do. Like, just, how do I want to put this? So I had a job interview today, and if it goes well, this podcast will go down in infamy, because, like, here's how you know that it was a good day. I walked over to the room that I was going to record in, because I had to do it via Zoom call.
Yeah, I've done a couple of those interviews since this started.
Yeah. So I went to, in the school, is the same school that I applied for and got the interview for, but I had to do it from a Zoom call because some of the people weren't present there. But went to the conference room to do this call, and on the way there, 2 kids stopped me and were like, have you been here before? We don't recognize you. And I'm like, oh no, I'm just a substitute at the moment. And they're like, that's cool. You seem like a really cool guy. I'm like, wow. The fact that actual children came up to me and said that is like, this is going to be a good day.
Yup.
You're radiating cool guy energy.
Apparently I am. I don't even think I look like that much of a cool guy. But you know what? I'll take what I can get.
Well, I think that there are a lot of kids who are a good judge of character for adults. Mm-hmm. I mean, you think about when you went to school and you just saw certain substitutes where you're like, oh no. And then you saw other substitutes, you're like, yes!
I'm gonna drop his name because fuck it, he's retired. He's not gonna be here to hear this. There was a guy.
Please tell me I know exactly who you're talking about.
You probably know this guy. His name was Mr. Dixon.
Hell yeah, Mr. Dixon.
He was...
I knew it.
Just this short, dumpy guy who would hit on the girls all the time.
Oh no!
He-
I thought this was going another way.
He was the worst. He had
I thought this was like I love this substitute. He
No,
gave
no,
me the
no,
passion
no.
to teach. No, this is quite the opposite.
No, this guy sucks.
Okay.
He's like
I want to see we're on the same page.
he looks like he jumped straight out of the 70s.
He looks like he could play Benjamin Franklin in like a historical movie.
Well, yeah, except he has
not
like
in a good way.
he has really greasy black hair though,
Yeah.
and like the thick
Yeah.
70s style glasses that have for some reason come back into style now.
Yeah, I don't know why.
And he had two personality traits. One was checking out the girls, which first of all, ew, no, stop it. And second of all, he had to prove that he knew more than everybody else in the room. Mm-hmm.
But you're a okay.
And there was one glorious time, where he wasn't even subbing in my class. I was in art, and he just stumbled in and was talking about something. And I was working on this project where we had to take recycled items and reform it into some sort of art piece. So I was making a replica of the Mayan calendar out of recycled parts, which it was really cool.
Okay.
But he walked in, he was like, I was talking to my teacher at the time, and I was like showing her what I had done so far and if there was anything I needed to add or whatever. And he comes walking and he's like, "Oh, that's a nice Aztec calendar you got there." And I'm like, "It's a Mayan calendar." And he goes, Oh, okay. And it was just like the light drained out of his eyes. It was wonderful.
I knew something. Oh wait, no, I didn't.
He swore up and down that I'm paraphrasing what the quotes, but he swore up and down that it was Aztec and not Mayan. And I was like, "I got you beat there, friendo."
This was probably at the time when the whole end of the Mayan calendar thing was like,
yeah, it was
ramping up.
It was 2010, so the
Right
people
before
started
that.
talking about it.
So the movie 2012 had come out recently. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
One of my most notable experiences with Mr. Dixon is the you could say notable experiences with this man, because boy is he inexperienced.
I can imagine.
But I just the thing that sticks out in my memory most is how like everybody, because of just like his sheer need to want to like prove that he knows things, all the people in my graduating class, my glass, if you will, they would always like just bring up random shit.
Yes.
From this, I learned that he has a stamp collection.
Okay.
And he is very passionate about the differences between California and Florida oranges. It's just like stupid shit like that, just to specifically get him off task.
Oh yeah,
I
everybody
kind of get it.
Yeah.
I mean, talk to me about any composer and I'll just be like, ooh! Start spouting off random facts, but
Well, now
I'm a
we have
music
to do
teacher,
that.
so that kind of like, yeah, well, we'll get there. But yeah, I'm a music teacher. I'm not a Florida orange grower, so mine makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, this was a guy. I'm sure everybody has had a substitute like this, and I really hope that I'm not one of them. But there was always a substitute that you could so easily get off track with.
Oh yeah,
And they were usually the ones who had already done their tenure of teaching and that were now semi-retired, so they just did not care anymore.
oh my gosh, yes, I know the type.
So Noah, I know of the school district that you went to, and your school that you went to was vastly different from the one Jess and I went to. Ours was in the middle of a rural area, which had a graduating
basically
class.
surrounded by cornfields.
It had a graduating class of 150, while you had, and it was sinking. While you have a school that had a graduating class of 400 and was sinking.
Something. Yeah. We were also in a cornfield, but, it was like, we had bought it and whatnot. It's a very large school.
Yes.
I honestly do not... I mean, I remember a couple of subs, but I really remember the ones I liked, not the ones I didn't like, because, not exactly going to waste memory on people that didn't impact me. But one of them, I really enjoyed her. She was very nice and very understanding. She made sure we did our work. Like, she didn't just, let us get off task, but she would... Before, we were not allowed to, have sweets and whatnot in schools. She would bring in this small Tupperware bin of candy and, hand out a piece at the end of each class, regardless if it was, middle school, high school.
Oh, that's nice.
It was just nice. And she was a great listener. She was a great person. I wonder if she's still subbing. I don't know.
Who knows? I mean, our substitutes were painfully average at best. I'm sorry to say. I kind of want an average substitute. I don't necessarily want one that's just, crazy as all get out. They're entertaining, but that also, has a weird effect on you. You're just okay. We had another sub that I swear was an ostrich.
Oh, I never actually had her. I think she stopped subbing, after I was in. I might have had her once.
That's okay. She was she got frustrated very easily. So, I knew her semi-personally, so, I had a little bit more empathy for her. But,
I get that. And substituting is not kudos to you, Casey, because
thank you.
I've had to substitute before, part of my main job when it was state testing. Even though I live in PA and I grew up in Maryland, they have a different way. They changed it recently, so I forget what the acronym is now. But anyways, I had to do substitute stuff while certain grades were taking those tests at the end of the year, and I just remember I was just this is not what I went to college for. I have a job. It's not I'm interviewing, you are interviewing and having substitute jobs to make sure you have an income. That's one thing, but it's just I actually have a job with this district, and I still am subbing, so kudos to you. But I just... It's stressful.
Oh,
I think, personally.
It can be.
It's a lot of ad-libbing.
Yes. My biggest struggle has always been, and I used to work at a school that was very large, larger than Central even, and the fact that you had to read a room in seconds and go off of that is a challenge. Because when you have your own classroom, you build a rapport with students, and you have time to get their personality and work around that and work with them. But as a sub, you have seconds to minutes of time to do all that.
If you're lucky, you'll have minutes.
Lucky, yeah.
I think it's all about being genuine. Whenever I subbed, it was just being genuine. And I remember at one point I was bringing these kids to special, which I knew the specials teachers because I am a specials teacher.
Right.
And the art teacher looked at me and she was like, "This is the calmest this class has ever been coming to my classroom. What did you do?" And I was like, "Well, I told them I knew what Undertale was, and they thought I was a god." So,
yes.
It was just I just remember you know what Undertale is? I'm like, "Yeah, I've played it." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not that old."
You are an adult with a personality? What? Never heard of such a thing.
You like things? You're not just this bland stand-in for a teacher? Yeah. Uh-huh.
Little known fact, but whenever you're in high school, all your teachers are actually just Tofu from Resident Evil.
You got it.
Oh my gosh.
That reference was lost on me, but you got it.
It's just like a It's like a giant like rectangle, like a white rectangle called tofu. You play as it.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, tofu generally comes in like that colorless, like square form, cuboid
You're
form.
right.
Yeah.
And it tastes like it looks.
I don't mind
Yes,
tofu, actually.
unless you cook it with certain things. Yeah, I'm more of a texture guy when it comes to foods I don't like, but I think tofu works. Especially, I think it's really good if you use it in soups.
Yes.
Yeah.
The only
because
time,
it'll just absorb the flavor.
yeah, the only time I've ever had tofu was in soup.
Mm-hmm.
So it was fine then.
Yeah.
I was gonna make another.
It's also
point.
pretty good if you just. What were you saying?
Oh no, go ahead.
It's also pretty good if you like don't eat it raw. Like if you like toast it.
Yeah, if you
Give it
cook
a
it,
sear.
even frying it is
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, that's.
But
I need to. I guess I should expand my horizons more and have toasted tofu, toast food,
I
if
mean,
you will.
maybe, yeah. The world's ending. Why not try something?
Sure, why not?
Everything's fine.
This is fine.
I love how that comic gets more and more apt as time goes on.
It does. Have you ever seen the follow-up one to that comic?
Yes, I have, where the dog is melting.
Yeah. No, well, no, not that, but the artist slash author actually made a follow-up where the dog tries to say this is fine, but then he just starts flipping out. This is clearly not fine.
Yeah.
Grabs a fire extinguisher. My favorite line is when he's running out of the room, extinguishing the rest of the house, screaming, "They shot a gorilla, for Christ's sake!" Because he made it around, like, 2016, so it was just, like, the heat of all of that nastiness of 2016.
Did you know that the artist who made that comic is also the artist who made Dick Butt? And the
Yes!
artist who made the troll face? And the artist who made
Oh, I didn't know that.
And the artist who made that it's a reaction comic where the guy in a suit and tie and he raises his arms over his head and it says, "I guess."
Yes.
All
The
the
full
same
comic
person.
of that is great.
The full comic of
He's
that
very
does
good.
not.
He also has a web.
The full
Yeah.
comic of that does not even express the same feeling that the reaction image does.
Yeah. He has a web comic too that I checked out. I didn't know he made like the troll face and whatnot, but he has a web
There was
comic,
a,
I believe.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm trying to think of what the name is. It's like He Is a Good Boy. I think it's about an acorn, and it's just as messed up as you think it will be based on what you've seen.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, and
But-
in that one comic, it's two guys looking out of an office window, and it said something like, "Hey, that cat is eating a sandwich out of a paper bag. I guess." Like that doesn't even
What?
it's not the
There's
same.
more to it than that. But,
Yeah,
like,
I know it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't convey the same. Like, the use of the meme is removed from the use of in the comic.
But, yeah,
The context is very different.
which is very strange.
His art is, I believe it's a he, is all very crazy, and I love it. It's very surrealist and
Yes.
just nuts. Absolutely crazy.
Absolutely bonkers.
I love it so much.
I was just thinking about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory earlier today.
Oh my gosh.
Shout out to Roald Dahl for having the same birthday as me.
That's fun.
Many people have the same birthday as you.
Mm-hmm. That was a topic in a previous podcast, anyway.
Yes, it was.
A few people have the same as me, too. What's his name? Muppet guy.
Jim Henson.
Yes, he has the same birthday as I do.
Neat.
I share
And yeah.
I share a birthday with Bono and the guy who shot Lincoln.
That's awesome and awful, respectively.
I don't know about that. I don't really care for Bono that much.
Really? Oh, I really like U2.
You
I
two
like
is
U2.
great, but
Hey. I have a personal vendetta against YouTube for putting their music onto every iPhone in existence.
Well, it could be worse. You could be John Lennon.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not shy about how I feel about John Lennon.
Oh, please tell. Do tell.
we're talking about the guy who shot Abraham Lincoln earlier. I think that's kind of similar.
Well, I just John Lennon. Out of the two singer-songwriters for the Beatles, Paul McCartney, in my opinion, is the superior. I find his music just to be more enjoyable. John Lennon was a womanizer. He was just overall a shitty person. I didn't like his single stuff, his like solo stuff. Like Imagine, I think is just a bad song. Less because of the message itself. Like I get what he was saying, and that's a very John Lennon thing to say. Like I get it, but it's more of like how people use it. Like when all those celebrities sang it during COVID, where they're just like, "Imagine there's no heaven," right after your grandpap died. Like, oh, that'll make me feel so much fucking better.
It's not like celebrities can even get close to relating because, like, they have the money to pay for health care and they don't need to worry about anything because they got.
No, but Ellen was upset. Anyway. She was stuck in her house. It was like a prison, she said. Her McMansion was like a prison.
Oh, no.
Yeah, shut up.
Oh, no. Sheds small tear. Plays smallest violin.
Presses F on the smallest keyboard.
I follow a Twitter called Ellen Show, which is just very clearly a parody of Ellen, but like he or she, whoever's hosting it, almost got in trouble because it was too much in the likeness of the Ellen Show. Like there was just one that was like, it's just basically like I'm gonna make one of my interns shoot another intern and see who wins, or stuff like that. Or she's like thinking about throwing an intern out the third story window.
Jesus,
just it's so good. I think it's owned by the same person who also owns the Disneyland To Go Twitter, which just tweets things like Mickey Mouse is dead or we found Goofy's OnlyFans account. They just tweet stuff like that. Hold on, I'm gonna find some. Well,
hold on, wait. $10 if you want a fuck.
Pretty much. That's kind of how it goes. I'm looking it up right now. We'll do Disney first, because Disney, I found, is funnier. Disneyland To Go.
We'll drop it in the links.
Where's?
I will drop it in the links. It says, Korn will play a reopening concert 6 days ago.
Oh, boy.
Link dump. I'll drop it off there in a moment.
There was a rumor that was really hardcore pushed like a couple months ago that was like, oh yeah, Korn's gonna play the Super Bowl this coming year.
Yup. I'd like to fucking see that.
That would be wonderful.
It would be a perfect end.
Oh yeah, it would be.
Oh, here's a really good one. We see you. We hear you. We will do nothing.
Yep.
Like, if I could sum up corporate America in one tweet, that is what it is.
Basically.
I'll look up an Ellen show. Ellen To Go. Ellen show. Oh yeah, there's this string of tweets that are just supposed to be Google. So, how to hide intern body. How to dissolve human intern body. Best place to put dead intern. Oh fuck, how do I delete these? And then she adds her signature, Ellen.
Oh boy.
It's... Oh, it's so good. I just... One good thing that's come out of the internet age is just the absolute savagery and ruthlessness that are unleashed upon celebrities whenever they seriously fuck up. They're like, I'm sorry. And we're like, ha! No, you're not.
Yes.
They deserve it.
I mean, it's probably fine. Probably.
I do kind of feel bad for, like, the non-celebrity celebrities, like YouTubers. Like they're just people, you know. They didn't expect to be suddenly thrust into like to having millions of people watching their every move. And they don't
Exactly.
have PR teams or anything. They don't know how to handle it. So like,
unless they're really big, I'm sure that
I mean,
like Markiplier has some PR with him.
I don't even know about PR, but I know he has like some like assistants and like people at like, a lot of bigger YouTuber people have like people at YouTube who like help them through things and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see the time when Markiplier went on Jimmy Kimmel?
No.
He went on Jimmy Kimmel and he just did not understand Markiplier's job at all.
Well, yeah, Jimmy Kimmel's like, he's the most boomer Gen X I've ever like seen.
Because this was the way that the interview went, and I can sum it up in a couple sentences, where he's like, so, you got millions of subscribers, huh? Yeah, I have 14 million as of this time. At this point, I feel very fortunate to be able to do that. And he's like, oh, that's neat, that's neat. You ever sleep with any of them? It's like, dude, that is not okay.
And Markiplier's just like, no?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm like one of the YouTubers who has like a shred of human decency? Most of the YouTubers I watch are not that large. The ones I really enjoy have a cult following.
Right.
Which allows them to do their niche thing. And I really enjoy that.
Yes, I agree. My personal favorite at the moment is Quentin Reviews.
I've been watching some of his stuff. I think he's pretty good. What's that one series he does?
About Fallen Titans?
Yes, I think that's pretty good.
Yes.
I watched the one on Channel Awesome, and boy howdy, that whole Channel Awesome stuff, I never followed it, but boy howdy is it a trip. It's just like, I don't know if you know Down the Rabbit Hole with Frederick Knudsen.
Yes.
But I watched him live read the document that calls out Channel Awesome. It was a 5-hour live reading, and I watched it over the course of a week, and I was just like, it's like pretty much
on a podcast, actually.
Maybe.
But,
maybe. It's just like, you think it can't get any worse, and then it gets so much worse.
Mess.
My favorite thing about that is that Channel Awesome's official response was, we sincerely apologize that you feel that way. Like,
exactly.
Not even a real apology. Like, we're sorry you feel that way.
And it's just like, they did a longer response after the fact, and it's really funny because that live reading only took 1 hour, because there's like nothing there. Maybe 2 hours. But it was pretty much, the way they presented it was like, accusation. Whoever this guy's name is, I already forgot it, because, again, I'm not going to compartmentalize his name into my brain.
Sure.
He did bad thing, and was really rude, and had a temper tantrum. Fact! And it states something completely irrelevant, like, we are committed to... It was like corporate speak. We are committed to an equal opportunities working environment. I'm just like, that's a non sequitur. Like, you can't just, like... That has nothing to do with the claim. Like, you just say that, and... expect me to trust you? No.
Yeah, no, that is obnoxious.
I'm not doing that. So disgusting. It just like
There was
it just kills me.
There was a video by Lindsay Ellis not that long ago, which I think we've mentioned before, which was protest songs of the Bush era. And she opened it with talking about how, like, music, like, just talking about music in general and how it's something having to do with, like, how society changes and grows and everything. And Todd in the Shadows shows up, his thing is reviewing music. And he's like, hey, Lindsay, what are you doing talking about my area of expertise? And she's like, you know what? I never considered the fact that we haven't done a collab before. And he's like, yeah, the time of collabs is kind of over. Just because that time has passed, and for no other reason. And she's like, yes, no
Nope.
other reason.
We're not gonna talk about that
Yep.
elephant in the room.
And we never see Todd ever again after that segment, and they never bring it up after that. Which,
Oh.
pretty great.
Mm-hmm. It just, oh my gosh. So crazy. They did so much stuff that I just don't even, like, and they're doing, like, stuff that would have been, like, popular on YouTube in, like, the late aughts.
Mm-hmm.
Like 2008, 2009, but the time they were filming these things was like 2014, 2015, when we had very clearly like went to a new paradigm on YouTube,
Yeah.
where it was a lot more like independent creator based, and when people worked together, it wasn't a huge gimmick. It was just like, hey, I'm going to feature this person because, you know, we're friends and we're talking
Right.
about similar topics, and I wanted to get their take on it.
Yes.
So, like,
God,
Internet
like-
Historian does that a lot with folks. He brings a lot
Oh,
of folks
yeah.
into his other channel stuff to give them a little bit of visibility, and also to, you know, just kind of give different perspectives on memery, I guess.
Yeah. Remember the time when YouTube channel conglomerates were like the big thing, and then Machinima scammed a bunch of people out of a shit ton of money?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened!
Yeah.
They just got too big.
Uh-huh, that was the problem.
Yeah.
Oh, no, go on.
One of my favorite YouTube series of all time, called Freeman's Mind, was...
Oh my gosh. Ross Scott is a gem, a gift from God. Go on.
Absolutely. He was... That series of videos started on machinima.com, moved to YouTube under the Machinima banner, and then subsequently got banned from YouTube via Machinima.
Yup. And it was just an Ouroboros.
Yeah.
Like, Machinima ate themselves, essentially.
Pretty much.
And, like, it went to the point where Ross Scott, for a period of time, I don't even know if it's still up, but he collaborated with some other creators that had been, you know, given the cold shoulder by Machinima, and he pretty much was like, yep, we're going to make our own now, called Gorilla Gong. And he had that for a hot minute. I don't know if it's still... I doubt it. He hasn't mentioned it since then, and I have followed him since I found Freeman's Mind in, like, middle school.
Oh, yeah, that was definitely a middle school thing.
I mean, it's still funny. I watch it, like, once a year, and it kills me every
Totally.
time. Just the
my favorite
later it
lines.
gets...
One of my favorite lines from Freeman's Mind, just what sticks out to me the most is, "Monkey on a stick! We're being fingered by Godzilla!"
Yeah!
I was just thinking
That's
that.
so good!
By far the best.
One thing that sticks in my head a lot, I don't even remember the context. It's something along the lines of, like, there would be a tool that's much better suited for the situation, but Gordon can't find it, so he's like, no, but it'll have to do. And just, like, he's so resigned that he's not even, like, upset anymore. He's just, like, apathetic at that point. And then there's the line after his pirate episode where he's like, this looks like a job for my good friend Ambassador Pineapple. He'll be representing me. Looks like we came to a resolution. And I'm like, oh my gosh. He's just... it's so good.
Oh, yeah, now I have a machine gun. Now I can solve up to 200 problems a minute.
Exactly. And when he finds, oh my god, it's a rocket launcher. The gift for a man who has everything. He just, like... oh my gosh, it's so good.
I really need to go back and watch all those.
Yeah, so do I.
Oh, it's so good. And the
You've thought
second
about it so
series
long.
is even funnier, in my opinion.
What's that one?
Freeman's Mind 2.
Oh, okay.
He's doing it with Half-Life 2, and he is killing it.
Yes.
He's just constantly pointing out just, like, plot holes. And just like, why is this here? Why is that here? But it's not in, like... I mean, it is in a making fun way, but it's also, like, endearing.
Yeah.
And his just personal vendetta against G-Man kills me. I said Hawaii! This is Eastern Europe!
Wake up, Mr. Freeman.
Back the fuck up!
Wake up and smell the ashes.
what is it? Your breath smells like paint. It was something like that.
Oh, it's so good.
I love the enunciation.
Your breath smells like paint. He's genuinely concerned. He's not even, like, freaked out. He's like, why? Just reminds me of that picture of, like, that old dude who ate an entire can of paint because he thought it was yogurt.
What?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Let me find the picture. It, like, makes me a little sick to my stomach just thinking about it, but it's also really funny.
Oh, no. That's terrible.
Yeah, let me find it. I'll put it in the...
Slightly unrelated. I don't remember even remotely what video it was from. I think it was from, like some, like, race. They were, like, racing, playing through a game.
Okay.
And, like, one of them, like, screamed, and the other person was like, what the heck happened? It sounded like you were boiling.
Oh my gosh.
Now I have to look at this.
Finger by Godzilla.
I have to subject myself to the grandfather accidentally eats a quart of paint instead of yogurt.
I remember this now.
Courtesy of the Daily Mail.
And it's like a mint pistachio color.
Boy.
It's so gross. Thank God
That's
it's like
thing.
Probably, yeah, it's probably latex paint, so thank God. It's not like... If it was lead paint, that would be real bad.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, latex paint is what's
then.
used on walls nowadays. Yeah, he would be if it was lead paint. I did painting for a couple of years over the summer. That was, like, my first job was as a, like, painter for rooms. And I can't believe, like, I'm forgetting, what is paint made of? I only painted 8 classrooms in one summer. Like...
Basically plastic, isn't it?
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, I was so stupid because there was one point where I had to, like, clean the walls with, like... It wasn't paint thinner, but it was with, this solution that would dissolve latex, and my gloves kept dissolving, and I was like, why is this happening? And it took me an entire week to, like, remember, like, latex paint and latex gloves, Noah. Maybe you should get the vinyl gloves. They won't disintegrate. I'm like, duh. That was the same time. It was a Christian school, by the way. I was working there because I had cousins who went there, and the staff was really nice and stuff. I actually really enjoyed that job. But I just remembered that's when I was listening. I was applying for my first year of teaching jobs, and I kept getting denied because it's just, you know,
It'd be
you
that
just
way.
you throw crap on a wall and see what sticks. And I was really frustrated, so Mom was like, why don't you listen to an audiobook? And I was like, okay, what should I listen to? And I'm looking around, like, Game of Thrones seems like a good idea. So just imagine, like, how on edge I was for just 2 months straight listening to Game of Thrones in a Christian school. The doors closed. I had to, like, turn it down whenever I was using the paint thinner, because if I left the door closed, I would probably pass out. So I was like, gotta make sure I have some ventilation so I don't die. The closest I got to getting quote-unquote caught, which nothing really would have happened, but they were like, what you doing there? What you listening to?
Oh, yeah.
Was one of the old guy that would, like, work. He was the bus driver and also, like, one of the maintenance workers.
And a ghost.
Yeah, well, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of a blur. Anyways, he came to check up on me right after, like, one of, like, the bajillion sex scenes George R. Martin's just like, I have to fit it in. This is anti-Tolkien because it has boobs. I'm like, alright, dude, I got it.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
The Witcher's kind of anti-Tolkien, too, but it doesn't have that much gratuitous sex, I don't think.
No, not really. It's,
I haven't read the books yet. I'm getting there. It's on my reading list. I'm looking at the pile of books, and The Last Wish, the short story collection that introduces Geralt, is right on top after I finish a Terry Pratchett book.
Terry Pratchett's the best.
Oh, I love it. I'm reading Sorcery from Discworld. It's very good.
I like how in the very first book of Discworld, where he talks about imaginary colors, which is hilarious.
Yep.
Did you
And what is it called? Octarine is the color of Madrid.
Yep.
Where he's like, it's a greenish, purplish orange. I'm like, what?
Okay. There is
What?
There is legitimately a Wikipedia article on fictional colors.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm gonna look it up right now, but off the top of my head, Huvulu from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is a hyper intelligent shade of the color blue.
Uh-huh. Yeah, Douglas Adams and Terry Pratchett are very similar with how they write.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one is sci-fi and one is fantasy. And it just, it's so good. I feel like I had something, and then I forgot it. That's okay.
So, not to sidetrack or anything.
No,
That's
go ahead.
fine, I ran
Tell
out
your
of...
story.
All right. I was in the Land of the Damned recently, also known as Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
No.
You escaped.
Yeah. Proud of it. I told myself I would never set foot in Ohio again, and yet I did. It wasn't so bad.
Ohio is for lovers.
Anyway.
That's not...
So, being in Ohio, again, made me remember many of my Ohioan experiences that I once had. And it reminded me of how one time I used to live not really like near, but not like, it was like 20 to 30 minutes away. There was a mega church.
Mm.
Yeah. You know, like the kind.
Yes.
Yes.
I live near
Obscene amounts
Was
of
it a
money.
very charismatic one? I actually go to a mega church, and they're not necessarily like the charismatic type, like, what's his name? Kenneth Copeland.
Yeah,
It's
or-
actually...
I mean,
Joel Osteen, whatever.
Yeah, it's not... Yeah, it's... The one I go to is nothing like that. But was it in that, like, vein?
I'm not sure about the actual like preachings of the church. I just know that like it's a really big church with an obscene amount of money. One thing I do know about said church though is that they have just a giant statue of Jesus out front.
Okay.
I don't know precisely how tall, but I'm willing to bet at least like 20 feet tall, maybe 25 to 30.
They wanted their own little Cristo Redentor. You know, the statue
Basically.
in Rio de Janeiro.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, like it did. Funny about that, it did have like the statues had his arms outstretched.
Oh,
You know,
maybe it was like the same style.
sort of, except for the fact that they didn't really think about the way that his arms were angled, so they were like sort of like up in the air above his head from certain angles. So it
Okay.
made him look like he was being like, it's good, like doing a field
okay.
goal.
Oh my gosh, they like praise the sun from Dark Souls.
Not quite that high up, but basically, yeah.
That's really
And
funny.
that earned him the reputation of the nickname Football Jesus.
I so hope that someone like every Halloween puts like a whistle over his neck and puts a flag in one of his hands. Gosh, that would be so
I don't know if they'd
funny.
be able to get it up there, but
Just get a cherry picker, it'll be
may-
fine.
you may be able to actually even find pictures of it, because I'm pretty sure it was either well known or sort of like a local icon. But
I mean, a 20-foot Jesus is
Yeah.
not exactly
Football Jesus.
everyday happenstance. I mean, in
But,
some parts of America, probably, but
Oh god,
Most-
it's not at all what I expected. It's
Football
just
Jesus.
it's just the upper half. It's just the upper torso.
Yeah.
And he's like looking to the heavens and his arms are outstretched like, what have you done?
well,
He's
now
got
I
a-
have to look it up.
got a giant cross
Put it in the
front of him.
links.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to live near that.
Touchdown Jesus.
Touchdown Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm a little
Is that
foggy
what
on
it's
the
called?
details, but
That's
Yeah,
okay.
I look up football Jesus, and it's just a bunch of pictures of Jesus holding the pigskin.
not quite. But so funny thing about this statue of Jesus is it got struck by lightning at one point in time, and they rebuilt it in a marginally less football-looking pose. It was like sort of
see.
hands more downwards instead of like directly upwards, which
I
is
see.
disappointing.
That is disappointing. I would
Like
have just stuck with the bit.
I feel like you should kind of own it at that point, you know?
Make him go higher.
Yeah.
Make it like just like a straight up in the air. Safe! Listen, yeah, I would love that. If I was the pastor, I'd be like, nah, make the arms higher. But sir, they'll think it's touchdown Jesus even more. I'm like, yeah, and? Jesus can enjoy contact sports. It's fine. It's all in good fun. It only gives him concussions that like cause permanent brain damage way after the fact, but
It's fine.
God,
everything's
looking
fine.
at this again is giving me flashbacks.
It's really funny that you bring up Ohio and football in the same sentence because I also have Ohio football stories.
Oh, boy.
So I don't know if you know this. Jess, I don't think you would. Casey, you might. I work for the Ravens.
Yes.
As a seasonal employee. That's my second job. And for Ed Reed and Ray Lewis, when they were inducted into the Hall of Fame in Canton, I went up there with them to be part of the parade. So last year was our second time doing it, and we got a pretty nice hotel in Cleveland to stay at for the night. So I don't know how much you know about your football history, but there's a little bit of a rivalry between the Ravens and the Browns, and by that I mean it's like instant death if you show either iconography in either city. And the reason for that is the owner of the Browns in like the early mid-90s, Art Modell, saw that there was no football team in Baltimore and they wanted one because the Baltimore Colts had just, they went over to Indianapolis instead and pretty much denounced themselves in all of Baltimore. So what he did, Art Modell, was like, I want to take all of my players and myself and go to Baltimore and start a new football team. You can have the Browns, you can have all of their wins, you can have all of like the copyright and stuff, keep it in the city. I'm not going to do what the owner of the Colts did. And a lot of people are still very upset about that.
Really?
To the point where we lost to the Browns last season. It was a very embarrassing defeat. And there was a fan who was very clearly intoxicated who was complimenting us, not the players, but us, the musicians, and saying things like that. And then someone in the crowd mentioned Art Modell, and he went from being like, you lost, but you guys did a good job playing music, to him swirling around and screaming obscenities about Art Modell. I'm like, dude, it's been 23 years. Like it's a bitter blood feud. It's like the Hatfields and the McCoys of football. It's bad.
I don't know too much about football, but I'd imagine the rivalry is somewhat similar to the Dallas Cowboys and anyone who's not the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes, but the difference is like the Ravens actually win games. So, not all the time, but we do a pretty good job, if I do say so myself. Like I have anything to do with the game itself other than like providing, support and entertainment. Regardless, the whole story of that was I just imagine a bunch of like Ravens employees in Cleveland. Not it was we had to be careful. So but nothing bad happened.
No.
It was just like
No felonies.
Not that I know of. No one got fired, so I'm gonna assume no felonies.
No one got caught, is what you're saying.
I guess. I didn't see anything. I had a good time. All of my friends in my section had a good time. It was fine. I can't speak for any other section, so...
I'm trying to think what the most bitter rivalry is between two sports teams, and the only one I can think of that like really is bad is Manchester United Football Club and...
Manchester
the other one.
City. Manchester City.
No, it's this is gonna bother me if I don't remember. It's another football club in England. What are they called?
I thought it was the two Manchesters because my uncle actually is really invested in UK football.
Yeah, it's Liverpool, is what I'm thinking of.
Liverpool,
Yeah.
that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so they hate each other a lot, and they made fight songs that talk about how basically they want their other players to die, and it is savage.
That sounds like the UK to me.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
when I say fight songs, I don't mean it's like a joke between them.
Like, chants and cheers, but still.
Yeah. So, like...
They're just very openly saying, like, I will murder you.
Every time Liverpool sings "You'll Never Walk Alone," that's their song for some reason. Their Liverpool is "You'll Never Walk Alone." Yeah,
It's not even like a really well-known Rodgers and Hammerstein. I love that song. Don't get me wrong. I've played it before. It's beautiful, but that's just like out of all the things Rodgers and Hammerstein did, not one of their like.
Not even like
greatest
Pirates
hits.
of Penzance or anything. Nope. You go with Carousel, a very
I know.
badly adapted musical.
That would even make sense because Rodgers and Hammerstein were American, whereas Pirates of Penzance was it was UK because it was I'm forgetting their names right now, but it's the opera duo.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I just don't remember what they.
Yeah, you think I would know this? I don't.
Like,
I'm not a huge opera buff, so.
Manchester United made a parody song of "You'll Never Walk Alone," and it's terrible. And it's just like, you guys.
That sounds about
you guys
right.
hate each other a little too much, don't you? And like,
Yep.
they both have started riots and like, just kind of a mess.
It's kind of like Canadians in hockey. We all think they're peaceful, but the second hockey comes in, just look at Montreal, and it's just a disaster.
Oh yeah, yeah. There was.
I mean, I love hockey. I get it. It just.
We all think Canada is peaceful until we look at all the war crimes they've done against Native Americans.
Well, they get overshadowed because America is just so much, like, more out in the open.
Yeah.
Because we're just a louder country in general.
Yeah, it sucks.
We've always been louder, so, like, we get the brunt end of the stick. Not saying it's undeserved. It is totally deserved.
Yeah.
But Canada flies under the radar with their racism and their colonialism because they're just not nearly as brash and bold as we are.
Right. And I
They're
will
like
say,
the European America.
I will say that Canada is at least trying to make amends a little bit.
I mean, there are definitely a lot of parts of America that are definitely trying,
Yeah.
but it's been a struggle for a long time now in America.
Yeah. You wouldn't think it, but Arizona is mostly Native American space.
Yes, it is.
I hesitate to say it's not like a. I'm having a hard time thinking of words right now. Jeez. A reservation. It's not a reservation. 'Cause,
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they ever moved from that area, but yeah. Like,
I think like a reservation is like government-owned land that's like given to them to live on, and it's like
it's a
highly,
pittance
like,
essentially.
Yeah, whereas like what you're talking about is like straight up indigenously owned land.
right. Like,
Exactly.
Oklahoma is like hardcore known for having tons of I keep want to say plantations, reservations.
They are. There actually is. That's the whole reason the FBI was formed. Like, one of the main reasons they were... Like, one of the first big cases the FBI had was the... I believe it's pronounced Osage? Or maybe it's Osage. I don't remember. But the Osage tribe in Oklahoma in the very early 20th century, they were given that land... as a reservation, and then it had a shit ton of oil on it.
Ooh.
So, they all became very wealthy in a very short amount of time, because oil. And then they started getting picked off one by one. Either poisoned or just outright murdered, and being taken advantage of. If you want to learn about it, I would recommend reading Killers of the Flower Moon by David Graham.
Okay.
I read that for a class, and he delves into it, and the way he writes it, it's like it reads as a crime thriller, but it's nonfiction. It's
Wow.
all true. The way he writes it is so impressive. I don't want to say anything. If you you can just look up the history of it, but I would read the book because it makes it a lot more thrilling, and it's very, it's very scary. It's a very good look at the dark side of America.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma's just been a very, very dark side of America for many reasons, but that's one of the darkest I ever read about.
Oh, that's crazy. I did not know about that at all.
Yup. It was the FBI, I think they had already existed per se, but that was the case that really helped them and helped J. Edgar Hoover land the importance of the job in the coming years.
Right. Yeah, those of you who either have not thought about this in a while or live outside the U.S., history classes in high school tend to very much gloss over Native American
gloss over a lot of
issues.
Things, to be fair.
They do. They gloss over a lot of issues that would make white people look bad.
Yeah.
Because they don't want their white students to feel bad, but, it's history. It happened.
I think we should make white students feel bad.
In a way that, we never want this to ever happen again.
Yeah,
because
it's history.
Yeah, going about it of just, this is all your fault and you have to apologize kind of way makes people angry and then, enables them. Whereas if we're talking about it from, this is what happened and I'm just presenting the facts to you.
I think,
Yeah.
I think, reading about history and, the awful shit that the United States has done, I think it should make you uncomfortable. It should give you a sense of, this is wrong, we shouldn't have to stand for this. We need to, being children, we are the ones who are inheriting this country, and we need to make the best of it and do our best to right these wrongs.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's what English class is for.
Yeah. I even took AP US history, and I learned things that they didn't usually teach that gave me a more rounded understanding of America. But even then, they didn't dive into the really dark stuff. They dove into company towns and mining towns, which I know that I don't know about you folks. I forget were you in Eastern, Western, Central PA? I forget.
South Central.
South Central? Okay.
Basically one county over from where you were.
Oh, okay. So I have grown up in South Central as well, but my family, the generation prior, grew up in Western PA, which is a lot of steel towns, mining towns. It's now referred to as the Rust Belt because the coal and the steel is drying up a lot. It is nothing like it was at the turn of the century last 1800s to 1900s. So, it's just I knew about those, but then I've learned about things just today, I learned about these things called Sundown Towns.
Ooh,
I don't know if you've ever heard about those.
I have definitely heard about those.
I was appalled. I was not surprised, but I am appalled. Essentially,
they're
Sundown Towns...
KKK towns.
Yeah. They are not overt in their racist tendencies, but it's definitely... They get their name from back in Jim Crow era, which has not really, lifted in Sundown Towns. There's black folks, you're allowed to come here, but you have to leave by sundown, or else things are going to get dangerous for you. And so, it's something that,
just pass through, keep your head down, get out of there as soon as
exactly, because for
don't stick around.
Black folks, especially driving in the South, you can, either take the short and quick way, which will have a lot of sundown towns, or you have to take a long, more leisurely, safer route around those towns. I learned about it, and while I was not surprised, I was just of course, this fucking checks out. I'm so glad!
I'm not at all surprised that those exist. Did not know that they had a term, but I'm not surprised that they exist.
There's actually someone, I forget, I'll have to post a link. There's a college professor who's done a very extensive study into it and like has gotten reports across the country of potential sundown towns. And I looked at the one for Pennsylvania, and some of the towns I saw, I was like, that checks out. Other ones I was actually shocked at, but then I kind of understood.
I'm sure where we grew up there's a couple. I could probably name some if I tried, but I'm not going to.
No, I'm not going to either. I mean, you can just look it up. Just look up Sundown Towns, and you'll find, I think, one of the very first posts is that study to learn more about it. It's, yeah.
Well, hey, I hate to end on such a dark note, but this was very enlightening. I did not expect to learn some things today on the
educational podcast.
It sure is. We talked a lot about education, but, you know, two-thirds of this podcast are educators, so, you know.
Yup.
But anyway, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for listening if you made it all the way here. Sorry we didn't have a podcast last week. Things got weird at my house, but regardless. Next week we'll have a different crew on and hopefully more adventures with who knows what, because that's the nature of this show. And until then, for Jess and Noah and myself, Casey, this has been the Let's Regroup podcast. You're welcome, Internet.
Good night, everybody.